If you are just joining us, you're on your favorite program, Democracy on the Rule of Law. By Samai Kumana, the issue of course, we know that the Anambra election is coming at the corner. It's very,
just question of days.
Yes, obviously. And the Inec chairman, the new Inec chairman, had vowed that the issue of vote buying, which has been a recurrent theme in our electoral process, for some time now. Where the highest bidder, of course, end up winning the election. And the Inec chairman had feel that there's going to be zero tolerance to vote buying this period. Do you believe in that statement, or do you feel that Inec, as we have it today, is ready to deal decisively with politicians who want to compromise the integrity of the election by inducing voters with them?
Thank you very much, Kenneth. You see, if it were the former Inec chairman that made that statement, I would categorically tell you here that I don't believe it. But this particular chairman is a fresh and a brand new chairman. We want to believe that whatsoever he says, he means it. But this is going to be a test case. The Anambra election is going to be a test case for Nigerians to see whether this particular chairman can back and bite. Now, the issue of vote buying is a major challenge apart from the rigging aspect of it. Vote buying is a major challenge where you have free, fair, and credible election to count, that votes will count. Vote buying is a major challenge, and it's a criminal offense. It's a criminal offense that is provided for under Section 127 of the Electoral Act 2022. It says that anybody that uses money to influence somebody to vote for a particular candidate or a particular political party commits an offense, and he is liable on conviction to a term of 1 year or payment of fine of 100,000 naira. That monetary aspect is very laughable, or both. But you see, if we have somebody that is stern and is strict about it, anybody that is caught committing vote buying, offense of vote buying, can face the two sentences, both the monetary fine and then the conviction for at least 1 year. If this is done, you will see that the aspect of people hovering around the voting booth to buy vote in diverse methods would cease or would reduce drastically. We want to see whether this zero tolerance to vote buying is going to work, because the moment that is able to work, then we now beam our searchlights on those who are going to rig the election after from the collation centers, because these are some of the places that election rigging is paramount, is prevalent. But the moment you are able to get it right from the polling booth and it is transmitted to the RF directly, as it were, which we have been promised to, we expect to see a fair and credible election, free, fair, and credible elections under this particular chairman of INEC. I want to believe that what he says, he means it. But at the end of the day, we will know whether he actually meant it or not.
All right. But I want to also ask you the same question.
Yes, the new chairman of INEC has come up to assure Nigerians that under his regime, there will be zero tolerance for vote buying. I've looked at it personally, and I have my reservations. First, because he's a lawyer, he's a distinguished lecturer, a professor, and he's no advocate of Nigeria, I have my respect for him. But then he cannot be everywhere all the time. And then this issue of vote buying, what are the facilities? What is the machinery that INEC has put in place to check vote buying? Because vote buying is not usually done at the polling booth, so to say. Some are done weeks, months, or days before the actual voting day. So if politicians go to people's houses, induce them with money, and collect their cards to ensure that they don't vote for their opponents, how can INEC officials find out? Again, what of instances where this vote buying, like we saw in the previous election, the observers that came from international community say that vote buying was very conspicuous, very apparent, and that it was not just one party that was involved in the vote buying, that 2 or 3 major parties were involved in the vote buying process. And the irony of all this is this, that we have a nation where the welfare of the people is the supreme law. Power comes from the people to those that are voted into power. And that is why election is the very pillar of democracy, where the people have the right to decide who will be their leader. Now, if election is compromised through vote buying, it means democracy is threatened. So, by and large, the Anambra election is at the corner. It's a legitimate test, but I have my reservations that INEC could be able to curb election vote buying to the point that there will be no reported incidents.
No, but he said that there will be zero tolerance for that,
Yes.
and he has said that. But Mr. Kubana have said that it's a criminal offense, and you know
It's
that
a criminal
the
offense.
security apparatus are usually mobilized, during this election.
But
And
I've just-
sometimes some of this vote buying are done at the polling unit, because we have
Some are done before-
witnessed election where even the police stand by, where you vote, you collect,
Yes.
you vote, because they will check whether you have voted for the candidate before you are given the money. you
We've
are
seen
promised.
reported incidences
And the
where,
police, they don't do
where
anything.
politicians gather people, pay them a certain amount, and collect their cards.
Yeah, but in that case, you can't even vote.
The
because you need
cards
to
cannot be
cooperate.
used. It used to happen in those days when we were not actually using the electronic.
this
But
now.
these days that one is no longer working.
In the current dispensation, where people sometimes are sure that once they vote and they have a way of showing where they have voted, then they will be entitled to a certain amount of money.
So that money has to be given. You see the people,
In
somebody,
exchange
the person
for-
sharing it will sit and watch whether you must have voted for their candidate.
What they do sometimes is that the person with the money will be somewhere, not in the open place where people will see him or her. Then their agent will be there. So the voter will see a way to show their agents have voted, and then he will now be entitled to collect whatever. And why is this so? Nigerians are selling their votes because they are pauperized.
And the police are supposed to arrest those
There's
people.
hunger in the land. Now, if the nation implements the ILO recommendation 202, where Nigerians that are not working are entitled to welfare package at the end of every month, so that they can have something to eat to sustain themselves. When the living condition of Nigerians are improved, less people will be prone to vote, to selling their votes. Yes, but you see, the vote buying happens in Zona Clan, but it's not pronounced in Nigeria.
It's pronounced in.
It's not as pronounced in this nation, where a lot of people, even international observers, say that they witness massive vote buying, and we've seen instances where people, they are giving monies and they voted not because they wanted to vote for that candidate, but because they needed to collect that money to solve their immediate hunger and other related.
Yeah, but one would expect that this Anambra being an off-season election, all
eyes
will be there. INEC have a lot of materials, both human and otherwise, to ensure that there is free and fair election. This is not a general election. So one would expect that the new INEC chairman will follow his words with action and ensure that there is free and fair election. There's a level playing ground for all candidates.
Yes, I agree. And then, like I said, I We all watch to see what happens at the end of the day. But the major thing, which is the major expectation, the main expectation of Nigerians, is to have free, fair, and transparent election in Anambra State.
Yeah, but let me just, before we round up, we already have few minutes. Because now we are talking about free, fair election, because vote buying is just one aspect.
It's just one aspect.
Because transparency and accountability is also another aspect.
Exactly,
yes.
exactly.
Of course,
that's the main thing.
after the general election, where Inec said there was a glitch in the transmission.
Yes.
We have seen off-season election, and yet we have not still seen the use of IREF. We should have expected that IREF would have been test run in some of these off-season elections,
Of course,
where
I believe that
the result will be transmitted live for everybody to see. So what has been holding this IREF from being deployed?
We do not actually know at the moment why the INEC chairman has not given us the assurance that it will be streamed live. You understand? If it is something that we can see it as it is, the voting, the thing is dropping, they are sending it to IREF, everybody is seeing it, as we do in NBA, although some people still have their grievances here and there. It would be transparent enough for somebody to believe what the outcome will be.
Yes.
But you see, we're in a situation that you now move all their energy, your own energy, to target vote buying without thinking of how to plug the loopholes of rigging in other aspects. You will discover that at the end of the day, you might still end up telling people go to court, which is a language that has followed Yakubu and his group back to this. So what I am saying here is that apart from vote buying, which is the beginning of it, I want to give it to him that he has started on a good note by saying that no vote buying, zero tolerance for vote buying. Now, what have you done to ensure that those who are collating the figures are not swapping figures, are not adding, are not erasing figures and making the whole thing to look nonsense after the people were denied the opportunity of even collecting the 10 kobo to vote?
Free, fair, and
credible
transparent election.
All right, we are out of time. Thank you for